I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at villageXchange@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in a Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. A child shall lead them.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. We are in the midst of a
It's
Sin
an
and
alliance
Glory
stream.
with the Epic Underground stream.
If you want to know what the alliances are on Patreon. So if you jump on a Patreon, that's how you can join us. Yeah, join us there, and it's $1 a month if you want to jump into there. In the meantime, we are doing this alliance, but what the first thing that we're doing is it's like a Skid Row then and now thing. So we just listened to one song, which was way at the beginning of their repertoire, and that song was called Youth Gone Wild. It was a really good one. Now we're gonna do
classic.
Yeah, now we're gonna
We
do
are the youth gone wild. I'm trying out for the vocalist for the band. We are the youth gone wild. So you guys know.
Okay, here's the Sin and Flory. I'm assuming that was a typo, but it says Sin and Flory, so I'm going to stick with it. Maybe he's shouting out to somebody. Sin and Flory's now pick from Skid Row. This song is Tear It Down, which is released in 2022 off their album The Gang's All Here. All right, you guys, let's check it out.
Here we go.
And we'll let you know if we like their then or their now better.
Oh, well.
That first song was so good, though.
That's going to be a tough song. That's going to be a tough song to beat. That's going to be a tough song to beat. Let's do it.
Persistent.
gross.
Who are you strangers to judge me? She said.
Man, Skid Row. Okay, if somebody was like, we're having a Skid Row party, I would go.
You would go.
I would go. Yes,
I would go as well.
I think that I think there's gonna be fun involved.
Yeah, because you and Emily and alcohol, I feel like that's a bad combination.
With Emily?
Yeah. She said she'd be in on a couple Heineken and dancing. Who are you strangers to judge me?
She just meant dancing.
And then if you got in there and started saying that, yeah, I'm afraid for her, not the other way around.
Oh. I just thought that you'd be concerned like that if Amy was here. Because you already said me and Amy.
No, I'd be. Well, see, Amy was there. You guys would end up on the top of the fucking table.
Well, that was
Like, she takes your corruption and goes in high. So we had Emily, and then we have you would corrupt Emily, and then Amy would corrupt the both of you. It would just be a giant disaster.
Emily.
It would be a disaster.
All right, Emily. Sorry, I can't go with you. I don't want to be a corrupting influence on you. Okay, we talked about Big Brother in this.
Big Brother.
Yeah, Big Brother was in here right there. It kind of threw me. All my Big Brothers just hear me now. My Big Brother's watching. He's everywhere.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. That's a
That's a
1984 reference.
Yeah,
with it's basically
revolutions in the air,
dystopian future, and the hyper monitoring that the government did in this dystopian novel 1984. It's a classic novel, and it's quasi prescient at some levels because of all the things that are happening now. But I will say,
you want to just say that in
relative to
quasi prescient, like basically like it was prophetic and people didn't realize it.
Yeah, basically, it's like one of those things that like accidentally became prophetic.
I see. Yeah.
See, the thing about
quasi, what does quasi mean?
Quasi means not really there. Like it's being sold as such, but
the
it's
Quasimodo or something like that? Wasn't there like something like that on the?
Yeah, Quasimodo's the actual guy's name, though.
Oh, that was his name. His name was Quasi, and you just said
Quasimodo was his name.
Yeah, but that's still
was
part
it
of
the Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Yeah,
his name was Quasimodo. But no, quasi is an adjective. Just basically means like a facade.
Yeah, but the guy's name, half of his name is Quasi, which is like a facade.
Yeah, I
don't think that's weird.
I don't think that they're related.
Because it's another language. Oh, I'm not saying they're related. I'm just saying it would be weird to name your kid like that. Anyway, Go ahead. The person obviously had a lot of problems, and you would do that on top of it. Go ahead.
Who had a lot of problems?
Quasimodo. Being a hunchback.
You were saying his name was another one of his problems.
Well, yeah, like, I mean...
I thought Quasimodo was a cool name when I was a kid. Are you kidding me?
What did you just say quasi means?
The adjective quasi or the prefix quasi means that something isn't real, but but this is his name. It'd be like, like the Desert of Sin, S-I-N, and it's like, oh my God, it's the Desert of Sin. Well, no.
Yeah, but you know how kids are. I'm sure you got picked on.
Okay, I don't want to. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't think I. Nobody made fun of him when he was for having the name Quasimodo.
How do you know anything about his childhood? It doesn't matter. That's not what the song's about. Okay, so we've got Big Brother watching us. It starts out with saying, "A stranger's knocking, leave me alone. Mindless persistence has cut me to the bone. Turned on the
devil vision,"
which is like television, right?
"and took away my breath, but I won't let him sell me that I was scared to."
But I think it was supposed to be tell me. Or
that I was scared to death. Yeah. He's probably
what?
He's probably talking about like all the fear mongering that's been happening since 2019 relative to COVID. I don't know if people remember, but I remember like when COVID first dropped.
Not long. That's
Michael Moore posted it on his channel, the first 1 million dead, and he was saying we're gonna have 1 million people dropped by the month. And then he said, like...
Michael Moore?
Yeah.
How does he know anything about that?
Oh, I mean, he didn't
So
know.
He just put all that fear out into the ether?
He just did that because he wanted to blame Trump. You know what I'm saying? He wanted to put Trump responsible for it. And then he talked about, like, we were going to have to ration the vaccines because we weren't going to get the vaccines early enough. And he was going to say that you should ask people, in order to triage, how do you decide who to give the vaccine to and who not to? Yeah, you ask people, do you believe in evolution?
Oh, wait.
And are you pro-choice? And if you say, no, you don't believe in evolution and that you're not pro-choice, then you don't get a vaccine, according to Michael Moore. That's literally what he said. Yeah, like, dude hates us. Like, he absolutely hates us. But,
crazy.
But, yeah, there was a ton of fear-mongering at that time period, like people being terrified, scared to death.
That is so crazy. That is
I'm not a robot. I'm not a clone. You build a rocket. I'll drive it home. My eyes are bleeding. Call it the sound.
So move the mountain, gonna take it, gonna break it, and then he's gonna go.
I'm not a robot. I'm not a clone. You built the rocket. I'll drive it home. I didn't
You build the
understand that
rocket.
reference.
You build the rocket. I'll drive it home. I think that's probably a reference to like Elon Musk, because he's got this goal of getting us all to Mars.
Okay.
So I think what he's saying is like, yeah, dude, build the rocket, and I'm gonna go to Mars because the Earth is crazy at this point. See what I'm saying?
What does it have to do with move the mountain? Can't kill the sound, so move the mountain.
My eyes are bleeding, can't kill the sound, so move the mountain, gonna see it, gonna break it, and then he talks about tear it down.
Yeah, no wall's too big for me right now.
Right. So he's talking about moving mountains, and then the next line he talks about tearing it down, because there's no wall too big for him.
Yeah, and what is he saying that wall
He's saying
is?
no matter what the government or Big Brother puts in his way, he's gonna overcome it. He's either gonna move it or he's gonna tear it down. Nobody's gonna tell me what to do. No motherfucker's gonna tell us how. Because during the time... Vin, I'm just gonna zip it. Nah, don't zip it. Go for it. Go for it if you want to go for it.
Yeah, Vin never encourages people to hold anything back.
Yeah, especially in this song. I mean, I think that's the sentiment. The sentiment is like, see, here's what I always said during the COVID situation. I said, okay, I'm gonna mask. I'm gonna social distance. I'm doing that voluntarily because I think it's.
I was surprised you did.
I said I'm gonna do it voluntarily but I said the minute that we allow the government to do it, we're screwed because the government never gives back rights. And and the first thing I did was talk about the USA Patriot Act. Everybody was terrified after 9/11. All of a sudden, in came like this 1,500-page document that they drafted in like 3 days, supposedly, or whatever it was. And then they never repealed the Patriot Act once the threat levels got lower. Right. They never repealed it. So my whole thing during the COVID was, we should do this. Private businesses can make those claims, but I'm like, once the government does it, we can no longer support it because they're not going to give us that right back. And, you know, we have to learn from the mistakes of the Patriot Act. Like, was there a legitimate threat? Yes, there obviously was. 9/11 happened. But did we want to give the government that kind of control? No. I mean, and it was funny because it was the left at the time was saying, yo, this Patriot Act thing, I don't know, bro. Mm-hmm. This is pretty bad. Mm-hmm. And then you know how they were doing the whole COVID, you know, mandate thing. So I think people were really resentful. People who considered themselves to be free people were very, very resentful of this idea that the government could come in, tell them where to go, issue a curfew, all types of weird shit.
Right.
You know, they took the mask personally. I didn't care about them. I mean, I had one altercation with somebody in Walmart because, like, you know, I had been pretty compliant the other time. Yeah. Like, I'd been fairly compliant. I felt like we did our part as far as trying to keep everybody safe with the information that we had. Now it's come out that the information that we had was not very accurate. The CDC held back a lot of very important information. Yeah. We know that ivermectin is not horse glue or whatever the thing that CNN was saying. Like, there was just so much. See, my thing is, like, during that time period, I'm okay with a large swath of forgiveness for people because, you know, I understand the panic that was happening and things like that. And we lost people. Mm-hmm. You know, I was never afraid as far as us personally. Like, we're pretty healthy people. I'm not afraid on either side because people were getting myocarditis whether or not you had the shot because it was a respiratory issue. But, like, I was definitely afraid for members in my family who were 70 plus years old, and I still am because it's still COVID is still killing people.
Yeah, I hear
it's just if you're like morbidly obese or extremely old, like, you're going to be in the danger zone. But aside from that, I feel like most people, like, you can give them the assumption of goodwill relative to this, but then there are other players, people like Fauci, things like that, where I'm like, yo, they should be facing some, like, time, like prison time.
Oh, I agree. 100%.
Like, there should be some accountability for it, but it looks like that's what was going on.
Entire groups of people like that, and then shut down. People were posting stuff. You posted stuff, and then your stuff got blocked and hidden, and all this stuff when you were posting the truth. Like, there was we
got a warning on this channel
for medical
on this channel
misinformation
for saying the truth. You know
and
what
they
I'm
didn't
saying?
go back and fix that.
They haven't gone
in
back
my
and
opinion,
removed that, yeah.
YouTube, as soon as that information came out, they should have personally put out an apology video to any channels that got, demonetized or shut down or any of the stuff due to what they thought was misinformation. And then, do something. Friggin' put everybody's name on a giant fucking list in alphabetical order so people can go in there and see that YouTube personally apologized to you since they blocked your video for that.
Yeah, Becky
when you
said,
told the truth.
Becky said, I said no and I was right. I'm not sure for your personal case that you were right, Becky. Especially, and I'm only saying this, Becky, you have a lifestyle that essentially makes a vaccine a non-issue for you. But your lifestyle, and you know what I'm talking about, Becky, your lifestyle is not the norm, right? So there's a sense in which you were already practicing mega social distancing. I think you and I can agree on that. So you're not the average case. So I'm willing to give you like a 70% on the rightness or wrongness of your mindset relative to COVID. And I have no problem with saying, with being wrong on anything. You guys know that. I think, like I said, I'm with those thousands of doctors who signed that I think it was the Great Something Declaration that basically says if you're extremely overweight or you're 70 plus, you should consider the vaccine and some mild social distancing to a degree, like have the Walmart deliver your food, all that type of stuff. But I think this song is tapping into that resentment of like what was going on at the time. And the thing about here's my thing about like governments making mistakes and things like that. I don't have a problem with that so long as we learn from those mistakes and we learn from those errors. Yeah. And that's my problem. Like, it doesn't seem that the government or the people learn from things. Like I was talking about the Patriot Act. It's like we can, and you had all these leftists going for government mandates. Why doesn't the government mandate? I'm like, you guys were the ones that were against the Patriot Act. How could you support this? Mm-hmm. So it's like
people were scared.
It's the mind. Yeah, it's the fear, but it's also like the short memory. Like use these and gather data and project into the future. Like it's probably, is it more or less likely that these people, are going to abuse the power if you give it to them? And is the ramifications of that abuse of power more or less worse than what that abuse of power is supposed to curtail? That's a hard question. Yeah. But that's a question I feel like should be left to the American populace and not left to like 300 people in Washington. See what I'm saying?
I agree.
Like that's
I agree.
See, my thing is like, if there was a legitimate like real pandemic where social distancing and masks would have made like a major difference, like get that information in front of the American people and hold some sort of a emergency vote or something, poll or something like that lasts 2 weeks. What do you want us to do? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure that the American people, especially when you got self-interest on the line and the interest of your children, I'm sure we would vote in a very rational, reasonable way that's going to promote the most life. It's just, it doesn't seem that our government believes in us. Like the most naive way of looking at it is to say it looks like our government doesn't believe in us. The most cynical way of looking at it is to say they were just using this as power and control from the beginning, and they knew there was never an issue ever, and this is kind of a dry run to see how compliant people will be.
I mean, or there's a third one that says when it started out, like they were putting on all of these controls and stuff because they believed that was the way it was, but once those are in place, it's like, are they going to take them away? Like when I look back at what the government did, like bringing in the drugs into the black communities to be able to really mess up the families, because this was after the slaves had been freed, and it was just a way of, the same thing as like, starting the cops so that way they could go after the black people, and if there was all these rules that could basically just bring them back into slavery, but we could look like we weren't bringing you back into slavery. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so when you see that the government is doing stuff like that, and that people didn't realize, and everybody just kind of like went along with it, and like an entire community of people is still to this day reaping the negative benefits of what the government did to them. Like, the government planned that from deep. They did that, and they waited it out for the years to pass for the fallout to happen, for the black men to be in jail, so the families would fall out, and put, you know, there's all that stuff going on. So when you see the government planning something like that to go after a certain community, then you say to yourself, okay, well, what else will they do? And how deep will they plan? Like, did our government, you know, all of this is just, it's all guesses. Nobody knows for sure, but there are question marks. Like, well, did the government have anything to do with it? Why didn't they, you know, why they did put all the masking and the curfews and all the different stuff like that, but none of that stuff had like an end date. And there are lots of laws that are still hanging around that, I mean, that's how, what was it, DeSantis, when he went in and he used an old law to go after people.
1947.
Right.
Yeah.
So if that was set up where they were like, okay, every 6 months, these things that are like hyper like infringing on our freedoms, like those things every 6 months have to be revisited, like as a community we're going to do. And like you said, all of us should be involved in that decision making. This shouldn't be just like, the government is not our parents. What do you mean?
Yeah, especially since they had no idea either. You had Nancy Pelosi saying, I'm going to Chinatown, everybody hug a Chinese person. Well, it was like, well, no, he was right there. Trump was right there. But that's the other side of it, is that we were caught in this political craziness. Like one example to me is ivermectin. Ivermectin is it's a wonder drug. I mean, it's been used for so many good things in human beings for decades.
Okay.
And like CNN, like Joe Rogan, his doctor prescribed him ivermectin. Remember when CNN
they changed the color? They made it more green to make him look bad. It was horrible.
Look bad. He had like COVID. He got his ass kicked for like 1 day with COVID. He had ivermectin in his regular regimen, and he was like back at it like 2 or 3 days later. And CNN like literally filtered him to make him look sicker than he was, and all the rest of it, because ivermectin first came out. You know, it got popularized because Trump made a suggestion about it. So immediately they had to politicize it and say, well, if Trump says it's bad, it's got to be bad if Trump support. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like it became this thing, and like up until like a month ago, I had somebody saying like horse medicine or whatever relative to ivermectin. I'm like, wow, you're still saying that shit? Like that's not true. And secondly, it wasn't like Joe Rogan decided he was going to get ivermectin. His doctor prescribed it.
Yeah.
And like he brought Sanjay Gupta from CNN onto his show and like, yo, why did you guys lie about me? And like dude was basically like, yeah, I can't really answer for that. You know, I'm like, yo, that's crazy to me. So, like, I'm sorry, man. Now, the next time something happens, man, forget it. Like, I'm not listening to them people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
It's just too much lying.
I don't know.
Unbelievable.
I don't know. I like this song.
I was trying to grab that picture, but I'm not good at research.
I like this song. It's interesting. Like, this band really hasn't strayed from their sound. Like,
no,
it's like
but they
40,
got bigger with it.
It's like 40 years later, and it pretty much sounds like the
true. But they're older now, and you would think that it would be harder for them to project out that same like kind of sound. And I think that their sound got bigger. I think that they got more confident in their sound. And
yeah, I'm not sure if it's a criticism. I'm not sure if it's a criticism or if it's a compliment. But yeah, they definitely maintained their sound and their identity.
Or they picked songs that were similar.
Right. Yeah. Which
Could be
pretty
too,
much.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I like the band. I'm definitely a fan of their music. I like them. I
definitely like the first song better than this one, though.
I do
if
too.
we're comparing.
Wait.
The Youth Gone Wild.
Topic or sound?
Topic and sound.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that song is a classic song to me.
Yeah.
I don't know about everybody else, but that song seems like the classic Skid Row song to me. This one's getting a solid 9.
8.9.
All right, dear listener. All right,
9. I'm sorry, 9 even.
All right, 2 9 evens for Skid Row. The day has just begun, dear listener.
More songs.
Never you fail. Never you fail. We shall return with more metal goodness coming your way. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone. Shout out to Isaac.